Good afternoon, my dear students. Hope all of you are doing well and staying safe. First of all, let me welcome you all to the UWU family. And I hope you are enjoying our integration program. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Saranga Prematilake. Currently, I'm the director of Center for Gender Equity and Equality, Uovilasa University. So today, I'm going to talk about gender equity and equality and sexual and gender-based violence in university system. Right, so a little bit different topic compared to all the other lectures or the speeches that you have heard during your integration period. Okay, you must have had lectures on introduction to IT center, introduction to library, and about our mentoring program. But my topic is a bit different, right? So why do you think that you have to learn about gender equity and equality and sexual and gender-based violence in university system as the freshers of our university? You will find the answer soon. Right. So let me ask you a question. What is gender? Right. I think now you have applied for the universities and you must have filled a lot of applications. I think you must have seen this in many applications. When they're asking gender, you have to put a tick in a box where whether you are a male or a female, right? So if it's a boy, usually you will put a tick in front of the box in male, or if you are a girl, usually you will click the box in front of word female. But are you sure about your gender? Is this true? You must have used whatever you taught when you were young, right? But is this true? Let's see. Again, another problem. What is the difference between sex and gender? Is there any difference between these two? Let's see. Sex. Sex is actually a different biological and physiological characteristics of male and female, right? So physical, by looking at physical appearance, we can say this is a girl or this is a boy. So when you're born in the hospital, right? So your mother must be in the labor room, right? So your father is waiting outside anxiously. And when you're born, so the nurse would take you out and say, so it's a beautiful baby boy or beautiful baby girl, they would say. They must have said, right? Or these days now they have these scanning systems now. So when the mother is 6 months pregnant, so she can ask from the doctor whether it's a girl or boy I'm going to have, right? So actually, uh, there is the reason for having these physical appearances is because of some chromosomes that you're having in your body, right? So if you have XX chromosomes, then you are a girl. If you have XY chromosome, then you are a boy, right? So that is what sex is. So how sex differs from gender? Right. Gender is actually socially or culturally constructed characteristics of women and men, such as there are some norms for women and men, some roles for women and men, some relationships, and the society says these are behaviors of a woman, these are behaviors of a man, right? These attributes belongs to woman, these attributes belong to man, right? So many things that the society is saying about how a man should be and how a woman should be. So society's expectations about how we should think and act as girls and boys or as women and men. So they have ideas. These are appropriate for men, and these characteristics and behaviors are appropriate for women. So they label them as masculinity and femininity, right? So what's the difference between these two, right? I think you boys, most of the time, I think your parents may say when you're behaving in another way, they said, act like a boy, act like a man, be a man, right? Things like that, right? So that is masculinity, right? Or we call it as boyhood, manliness, manhood. So it is a set of attributes or the behaviors and the roles generally associated with boys and men. We say, so when we say usually men or the boys, they are strong and they are powerful, or they prefer challenges, right? So those things are, we say, the attributes of men, right? Then what about females or femininity, right? So femininity also called girlishness, womanliness, or womanhood, right? It is set of attributes and behaviors uh, and some roles generally associated with the girls and women. So we usually say girls are sensitive, so they are more emotional and they need more attention compared to men, and usually they are caring and shy, etc. Right? So that's how we, as a society, that's how we identify a woman, right? So, but I think, are not there men who are sensitive, emotional, and shy? Haven't you seen? Are not there women who are strong and powerful? Yes, there are. So then, what is this gender is? Gender is actually a spectrum. So it is not something binary, right? It is a kind of a spectrum. So it's a continuum of stretching from men to women, and or from masculine to feminine. So here you can see in this uh, diagram shows how the gender spectrum looks like. So you can be in any of these places. Okay, so it is not binary, it is kind of a spectrum. Now let's see what is gender equity and equality then. Let me show you a picture, right? Actually, there are two pictures. In the first picture, you can see there is a boy, a girl, and a disabled boy, right? So they are having same resources. All of them are having small boxes, right? What are they doing? They are watching a match, I think football match, right? So they, all the three are having same resources, same size boxes, right? The man can easily watch the match, but the girl hardly sees the match, right? She's not tall enough. And the disabled boy, he cannot watch the match at all, right? But they have the same resources. That is known as equality. Okay. In the second picture, you can see that man has given his box to the girl, right? Now she can watch the match more clearly, more easily, right? And look at the disabled boy, he has something else, so that some kind of instrument, so that he can watch the match also more clearly. Three of them are now happy, they can watch the match more clearly, right? So their resources have changed, right? But they are enjoying it. That is known as equity. I think you have a small idea now. But anyway, to give you a better idea, I will describe these terms separately. First, let's look at gender equality. So gender equality is the notion that there should be equal rights for both men and women. There should be equal rights, equal responsibilities, and equal opportunities for both men and women, right? So this promotes the equal participation of women and men in making decisions in the society, right? But this doesn't mean that the women should be equal to men, but their rights, their responsibilities, and their opportunities should be always same. And they should not, these rights, responsibilities, and opportunities should not depend on whether they were born as male or female. They should be considered as, all of them should be considered as human beings, right? I hope you have a good idea now, right? So all the genders are free to pursue whatever the career that they want and whatever the lifestyle that they want. They can make choices for what they want and abilities, right? And what they want without any discrimination. Their gender should not be a reason for choosing things for their lives, right? If they want to become a doctor, then if they have the ability, then they can be. And if a woman wants to drive a car, yes, she can do it if she wants, right? So uh, nothing should stop her or him because of the gender. Here you can see Tom Daly, Olympic gold medal swimmer, right? So he's doing the knitting, right? So knitting is usually we consider as a woman thing, no? But see, this is choice, right? That is equality, right? So Now let's look at one of the examples, right? So let's say when you are in the university, you want to appoint student representatives for your batch, right? Uh, so when you are appointing a representative, right, what are the things that you usually consider? That person should have leadership qualities, that person should be able to talk with the superior people, right? They should not be afraid to talk to vice chancellor, head of the departments, deans, right? They should have very good communication skills, right? So these are the things that you should consider, and not the gender, right? So it should not depend on the gender of the students, but unfortunately, this is what happens in most of the time, right? So they only consider about the gender, and most of the time it is a male student who will become the representative. So that should not happen, right? If a girl has all the qualities, right, or the leadership qualities, right, and good communication skills, and if she wants to become the representative, then you should go for the girl. Gender should not be a reason to select a student representative. Okay, right. Then again, another example. Let's say there is a girl who is interested in specializing in mechatronics, right? So we know that mechatronics is usually done by boys, right? It is, so usually people say the subjects are very difficult for girl to pursue, right? And the jobs are very hardy for them, right? But if she wants, then she can do it. If she likes it, it's her choice, right? Then we should not discriminate her and asking her not to do these subjects, right? And it's in the same way, if a boy wants to study traditional dancing or a stitching course, then we should not stop him doing them just because he's a boy. If he like it, then he can do it, right? So that is what equality means. So in gender equality, there is equal participation of both women and men in different life domains, such as in economy, in politics, and in education, right? So everyone is having some kind of responsibility, both male and females. Then what is gender equity, right? I hope now you have a very good idea what is gender equality is. Now let's look at gender equity. If you define it, it is actually the fairness of treatment for both women and men according to their respective needs. Right, so this may include equal treatment, right? Just like when we are discussing equality, so everyone is treating equally. Or sometimes the treatments that are different according to their needs, right? Remember that picture that I showed you? They had similar size boxes earlier, but they were useless sometimes, right? So then when two boxes are used together, the girl could see the picture. The girl could watch the game, right? So the treatments that are different according to their needs, right? That's what equity, gender equity is, right? Here, these are considered equivalent in terms of their rights, benefits, obligations, and their opportunities, right? So here, specific interests, needs, priorities of both men and women should be taken into consideration rather than just giving things equally among them. Right. So in other words, we can say gender equity is a process of allocating resources fairly among people, or having programs which are fair for each people, all the people in the society. The gender should not be considered, or doing decision making all the time fairly considering their genders, right, without any discrimination on the basis of gender, and addressing any imbalances in the benefits available to people of different genders, right? So the resources and everything should be given uh, fairly to the people, and we should not consider gender in that manner. Okay, right. So that's a good example for this. Now, usually at homes, right? So when mother is serving food to the family, but most of the time, the mother usually give the big piece of fish or chicken to the boy of the family, right? But that should not happen. That is inequity, right? So the girls also have the same right to uh, have the same size piece of fish or chicken, right? I know it is difficult to have all the times have the same size chicken and fish pieces, but anyway, girls also have a right to have same size piece of chicken or fish just like a boy. Right? Now let's say we are having a pregnant woman in our dining table. Then her having the biggest piece of chicken or fish, then it is fair enough, right? So gender equity is something like that. Right. Let's say, I will give you another example, right? So let's say I have 10 scholarships for the students, right? 9 of these scholarships are 5,000 per month scholarships. And there is one scholarship which is 10,000 per month, one, right? So there are 10 eligible students for these scholarships. They have applied and we found that they are eligible. And 9 of these students have almost same background, same family background, same incomes, right? However, there is one student who doesn't have any income at all. He doesn't even have parents, right? Maybe he's living with his grandma, right? And he doesn't have any income at all. So if it's equality, then all the resources, all these scholarships should be of same amount and should be given fairly all the students. But when we consider the need of the last student, right, who doesn't have any income, we can fairly choose him to have the scholarship with 10,000 per month. Okay, so nobody can say it is not fair, right? Because we consider his need or requirement and then we are giving the scholarship to him. Right. I hope now you have a good idea about what gender equity is. So why it is important to maintain gender equity and equality in a society, right? Why it is so important? So we know that all the people are affected by gender inequity and inequality. So when you are in a society, if there is inequity and equality, women are affected by them, the men are affected by them, and the transgender people, they could be affected by them, the children, the families, all these people could be affected if there is gender inequity and inequality. Therefore, it is important to maintain equity and equality in a society. And further, if you are having gender equity and equality in a society, it prevents violence against women and girls because people know about the rights, right? So they know even the women and girls also have rights of their own, right? So they should not be harassed, right? They should not be they should not be pressed, right? So they also have rights. So if you are maintaining equity and equality in your society, it will prevent a lot of violence against women and girls. Right. And next one is, if you are having gender equity and equality in a society, it makes a society more safe and healthier because even the girls and the women, they have access to education. So they learn things, right? They read things, learn things. So because of that, they can protect their society. So if we are maintaining gender equity and equality, it is the studies have shown that the societies are more safer and healthier. And at the same time, having or maintaining gender equality and equity in a society strengthens the economy while reducing poverty, right? So now if you're having inequality in a society and you are not taking the full potential of women in the society for the economic growth, then that will lead to poverty in the society, right? But if you are using the full potential of the women as well as men, so they are working, both groups are working hard, right? So then it will support in growth of the economy, reducing the poverty in the society, right? And having or maintaining the gender equity and equality also important for sustainable development, right? So because both groups are working together to achieve the goals of sustainable developments, right? So they are working so hard. So both of them are putting all their potential to have sustainable development in their society. And at the same time, now when they're having this gender equity and equality, they know about the rights of all the people, right? About women's rights, men's right? So then it is naturally they would realize that about the human rights, so they can easily maintain them. Therefore, maintaining gender equity and equality is important in sustainable development, as well as it's vital for realization of human rights. And why, as university students, you should know about gender equity and equality. Why we are saying all these things, why we are having these kind of lectures for you, right? Let's see. First thing is that because you are the ones who will drive the world in future. And you are the ones who will take decisions in the future. And you are the ones who are responsible for the economy of the country in the future. And more than anything, you are a responsible human being who should protect human rights. Right? Therefore, you should know these concepts and practice them in your lives for future to be more peaceful, more productive, honorable, and equitable. Right. So actually, do we have this gender equity and equality in our society? Right. Let's forget about the society, right? Do we have gender equity and equality in our university system? Right. So when you're not having gender equality, we call it as gender inequality, right? Which refers to unequal treatment or perceptions of individuals based on their gender. Right. Sorry. So this graph, actually, you can see the pass rates of GCE A-level examination by gender, right? The red color one shows pass rates of female. The pink color one shows pass rate of males. See, there's a huge difference between the two. The female students surpasses male students in large percentage, right? If you look at this table, you can see the student admission to the universities, right? Again, the females are surpassing males in large amounts, even in eligibility as well as admission to the universities. This table shows how the distribution of students in various faculties, right? So you can see, except for engineering and IT, in all the other faculties, females are surpassing the male students, right? And this shows the same one, right? So enrollment by sex, there are from all the students who enroll for the university, 60% are female and male represent only 40%. And do you know 68.5% of graduating students from state universities are females, and males only represent 30.18%, right? So the significance of these data are that there is a trend for women accessing and participating in state higher education have been more than men in recent times. And that means women are more educated than men. So this one is a post that I took from social media. I'm not sure about the data that were presented. So anyway, right? Because right in 2019 campus intake, right, girls are surpassing the boys, right? So boys, we have very good demand in future in the university, right? So let's see. Right. However, even though we considered that women are more educated than men, there is a small problem. There are no women students giving leadership to the unions or any society in the universities, right? Even though their number is high, but they are not showing any leaderships in unions or in societies in the university. So female leadership is very, very rare. So The increase in the number of female undergraduates has resulted in an increase in the number of women entering academia now. We know that high number of females are entering the university, therefore, number of students who are becoming lecturers again should be increased, right? However, there has been no noticeable growth in proportion of women in key leadership positions in the university. You can see this table right here. You can see probationary lecturers, right? You can see the number, right? There is about 54% of the total, from the total of probationary lecturers are represented by women. However, when they walks up higher in the academic ladder, so in the professors, you can see only 27% of percent is represented by women, right? So there is a problem somewhere, right? The reason is there are a lot of hurdles and hindrances to leadership for women, right? So there are various things like the women have challenges of work-life balances, and there are a lot of expectations for women in their homes when they're having children, when they're married. So there are a lot of expectation for women compared to men. And also there are gender division in labor in the university also, right? In the university system, there are gender division. So these are ladies' work, these are gents' work, likewise. And you can find a lot of discrimination against women in the university system. And sometimes there are favoritism towards men in promotion processes as well, compared to women. And dynamics of politicization of the university also a reason for this. And also there are institutional micropolitics, right? Students' unions, admin, and academic, which favor more men rather than women. Therefore, there are a lot of problems for women when they are to show their leadership abilities. So, however, with the support of others, these hurdles can be overcome, and we can ensure gender equity and equality in university system. So these are some of the suggestions that we can do to maintain gender equity and equality in university system. Right. So in terms of students for you, right? So when you're selecting students for faculty representative, that it should not be gender biased, as I told you earlier, right? So both male and female representation should be there. And when selection of students for university or inter-university competitions or sports activities, right? Again, gender should not be considered as a reason. If they have the talent, then those students should be taken whether they are girls or boys, and both genders should represent. And you can ask the students to select both female and male as leaders in their student unions in various societies, right? So that both female can also show their leadership abilities. And in terms of staff, right, when we are doing recruitments, right, it should be based on their performance and should not be based on the gender. And this, when we are selecting staff members for various workshops or training programs, gender should not be a reason. According to the requirement, we should choose the required person. And the selection of staff members for administration positions, again, it should not be gender biased, right? So if we can follow these suggestions, then we can maintain gender equity and equality in the university system. Right. I hope now you have a very good idea about gender equity and equality in university system. Right. Now let's look at our second part of the speech, sexual and gender-based violence in Sri Lankan universities. So when you hear this sexual and gender-based violence, I think you must be really scared, right? Aparade apply for university, right? I should have stayed at home. You must be thinking, right? So don't worry, right? So this is not only these are not only can be seen in universities. This sexual and gender-based violence can be seen in everywhere in the society, in workplaces, in various other institutions, and even within the family. That's the good thing is that if you happen to have this kind of problem in the university, then we are there to help you and support you. Okay. Right. So gender-based violence is prevailing at the moment in Sri Lankan universities. So it occurs between and among all the segments of the university community and among the staff, among the students, and everywhere. Right. Now let's see what is this sexual and gender-based violence is. So if you define it, it is kind of an umbrella term used for any harmful act that is committed against a person's will, right? And is based on socially ascribed differences between males and females, right? If that person, if you are hitting a person, right? So that is kind of sexual and gender-based violence. Or if you ask person to even to sing a song without their will, that could be again considered as kind of sexual and gender-based violence, right? So around the world, gender-based violence has a greater impact on women and girls than on men and boys. However, don't forget, men and boys also encounter various sexual and gender-based violence as well. Sexual and gender-based violence, right? One of the thing, thing that happens in the university, because most of the time these are hidden practice, right? Because the victims, they do not come out and report these things. Maybe it's because they are shy or they are afraid, right? So they're scared to tell this to another person, so they will not report them. So because of that, the culprits are not punished. And the result is they would go on doing these kinds of activities to other people, and they would destroy the life of other people as well. Right. So it is not limited to violence against women, but can also include intergender and intragender based sexual and gender based violence. That means it's not only the men who are doing this gender and sexual and gender based violence to another woman, right? So it could be between men and men, between men, within intragender. That means man is harming another man, right? A woman is harming another woman, right? So it could be either of them, right? Or sometimes it could be seniors against freshers during ragging, and so on. Right. So sexual and gender-based violence occurs in Sri Lankan universities in the form of violence, or it could be murder, right? It could be rape or sexual harassment, or sometimes it could be cyberbullying. Using internet, they can do these kind of things now. So they are also considered as sexual and gender-based violence. Right. So there are a lot of studies that were done to study these kind of activities that is going inside the universities, right? So one of these studies showed that among 250 medical students who spent 3 years or more in the University of Colombo had faced gender-based violence during their time in the university. These were confirmed by 25.2% males and 72.2% females, right? That they have faced this kind of gender-based violence during their university period. See, it's not only females, males also face these kind of problems. However, females are surpassing the males. Another study done in 2011 with the participation of 283 female undergraduates showed that from them, 73% were forced to continue relationship with their partners for the fear of physical harassment. The girls, they wanted to break up with their partners because they are not matching them or because of various things. But however, they cannot break their relationships because the other party is threatening them, saying that they would do various physical harassment for them or some other things. As therefore, 73% are suffering because of these kind of relationships. Then comes the ragging, right? The student violence, one of the famous word that we encounter these days, right? So ragging in Sri Lanka universities is one of the worst experience that a student can have. Ragging is kind of a form of systematic abuse. This could be the physical or even verbal, especially targeting first-year undergraduates like you. So it is a form of gender-based violence. Both male and female students are subjected to ragging. So mainly speak of women usually are harassed by men, and sometimes men can be harassed by women. So one of the main reasons for ragging to continue is its ties to students' political activities and probably their psychological issues. So, however, both male and female students undergo sexual harassment and abuse as part of ragging. So pathetic, right? So I think this will not scare you. Okay, so however, even from the history, right, history of the university system, so many cases have been reported, but the number of cases that were reported are way much higher than the reported cases, right? So here I will tell some of the examples of ragging and sexual and gender-based violence that were reported from various universities, so that you have a very good idea. Right, in 1975. An undergraduate known as Rupa Ratnasili of University of Peradeniya. She lived out of the second floor of a hostel to avoid sexual abuse. And the result was that she was paralyzed, and many years later, she committed suicide. In 1992, female student was stabbed to death by rejected suitor at University of Kelaniya. That boy wanted to start a relationship with the girl, and the girl said no. And then he came with a knife and stabbed the girl, right? In 1993, Chaminda Punchiheva died as a result of ragging in University of Ruhuna. And in 1997, women fresher of University of Ruhuna committed suicide after being subjected to severe sexual harassment. And in 1998, death of Varpragash of University of Peradeniya. He died because of injuries that he got because of ragging. In 2002, Ovitigala Vitanage Samantha was murdered, right? A big computer monitor was put on his head, right? Which was dropped on his head while attempting to stop ragging. In 2002, women students stabbed to death by her boyfriend at University of Kelaniya, her ex-boyfriend actually, at University of Kelaniya. In 2011, a woman student became semi-paralyzed in one limb due to physical ragging that was done in University of Ruhuna. In 2011, again, 3 men students of University of Peradeniya were arrested for sexually assaulting a fresher. And 3 women students of University of Peradeniya, again in 2013, were charged with ragging a group of female freshers in a toilet, right? They were sexually harassing the students. In 2014, a suicide of former male student in premises of University of Peradeniya who had been forced to leave the university due to ragging. 2015, there was a case of suicide of a woman student from Sabaragam University who wanted to, who assigns culpability to her raggers. Let's see how many cases are there, how many deaths, right? So these are valued children of their parents. See what has happened. Right. So if you look at sexual and gender-based violence in university system, there are several categories. One category is murder, right? So as we discussed earlier, 2 women undergraduates were murdered at University of Kelaniya. One was killed by rejected suitor, and the other one by her ex-boyfriend, right? And another category is sexual exploitation and transactional sex. Right, so here respondent reports sexual exploitation, transactional sex include pressure by male lecturers. Sometimes a male lecturer can tell, right, if you do this with me, I will give you good results. I will let you pass the exam. I will give you the questions that I'm going to give for the exam. Right, these things are happening in the university system. Right, so it could be other way around also. Right, so and also sometimes there could be forced relationship in exchange for protection and safe passage in ragging, right? So a senior would come and tell that I will help you, I will not let others to rag you if you become my girlfriend or if you do these things with me, right? So how pathetic these things are, right? Another category of sexual and exploitation of transactional sex is that female students are not allowed to end their romantic relationship, right? So because of various threatenings, violence, exposure of non-virgin status, or internet postings, right? So, or the videos, they are threatening that I'm going to show these to others if you break up with me. And another category is sexual harassment, right? So this widespread reportage of looking or touching someone, commenting or exposing genitals, or requesting sex or spreading rumors among the others, right? So these things again can be categorized under sexual and gender-based violences. And the new form of sexual and gender-based violence is that using IT, right? So, or using whether they're using SMSs or emails or using pornography, sexist jokes, videos, photographs taken without the consent, right? Distributed over the social media. These can be considered as sexual harassment through IT. So you can see various categories of sexual and gender-based violence can occur in the university system, right? So how to stop this? How to stop this ragging and sexual and gender-based violences in the university system, right? There should be a method. So only way to prevent the ragging and the sexual and gender-based violence and create zero tolerance of violence in establishment of, it is the establishment of protective mechanisms, right? So for that, we need full cooperation of university population, and that includes you. So if you encounter any ragging or sexual or gender-based violence incident in your life in UWU, please feel free to contact the Center for Gender Equity and Equality or responsible person anytime. So we will always be there for you, and everything will be highly secretive, and definitely you will not be exposed. So we can help you in every way by taking the actions against the accused so that they will not do these things to another person. So we have to create a culture that is zero tolerance of violence in our university. Right, so for that, the steps have taken by ULS University is to create culture having gender equity and equality, and to prevent sexual and gender-based violence, right? So the UW is committed to the promotion of gender-sensitive university culture and university environment. And we have this Center for Gender Equity and Equality. So it was established by 116th Council of the University in year 2017. So there's a director, academic and administrative representatives, non-academic representatives, as these are appointed by the Council of the University. So they are, all of them are working together for you to ensure having good gender equity and equality in our university system, and to prevent any sexual or gender-based violence in our university. So our vision is ensuring that the UWU, Wellness University, under the purview of the UGC, have this institutional capabilities to ensure a conductive, gender-just working and learning environment to all its members, and are recognized for their excellent practices. So our goal is to promote gender equity and equality in ULS University by facilitating the establishment of gender-sensitive cultures in the university and university environment, which allows students and university staff to pursue their work without oppression and any discrimination. So here, this is the place that we are today. So we are responsible for the Standing Committee of Gender Equity and Equality in UGC, and we are under the Wellness University, right? So even though if you don't want to come to us and report any ragging or sexual or gender-based violence, still you can do another thing, right? So there is a site in the UGC website, right? So it is highly confidential, so you can lodge any complaint through this system, right? By logging into this UGC, you can find this. So you can give any complaint so that the UGC will look after that problem. Right. So these are some of the upcoming events of Center for Gender Equity and Equality. We have interdepartmental debate competitions under the theme of gender equity and equality, and we have International Film Festival, and there are various workshops on gender equity and equality and sexual and gender-based violence for staff and the students. Right. So that's all. Thank you very much for listening. And finally, I have a small message for you. Okay. Both men and women should feel free to be sensitive. Both men and females should feel free to be strong. So it is time we all see gender on a spectrum, not as two opposing sets of ideas. We should be mindful of the challenges faced by people of all the gender identities and be a part of a generation that promotes gender equity and equality for all. Also, preventing ragging and sexual and gender-based violence is our duty. We have to work together to overcome these issues. So let's hold our hands together and work together for a peaceful, productive, and happy society. Thank you very much. And again, I welcome you to Uvalas University. Hopefully see you soon at the university. Thank you.